Hey, it's Aaron, metal theologian. It's been a few days. It's kind of a funny week last week, so I'm a little behind schedule here, but whatever. So, got something special though. It's been a while since I've done a soda, but a friend of mine here locally gave me this to check out. I didn't even know this shit existed until I saw it, until he gave it to me, so we're gonna try that bad boy out in just a second. And I have high hopes because, I mean, Dr. Pepper's awesome. And creamy coconut is awesome. So what could possibly go wrong? There have only been two sodas that I haven't been able to finish. And one of them was one of those really shitty Coke ones. Like, the ones with the really stupid flavor names like Cosmos and like, you know, shit like that. I don't know. Anyway, this is what we're listening to. It's a band called Ramses, and they're from Mexico. I'm not really mistaken. I'm just double checking myself. Yeah. And yeah, it's funny. This is like an 80s band. Looking for a date on here. I want to say this is like 84-ish, something like that. But I feel like these guys really sonically have a lot in common with the Mexican bands from like the 70s, you know, and even the 60s. Like that buzzing guitar sound that this thing has. I mean, that sounds really like, it'd be almost at home on, like, the 60s, like, you know, sort of like one of those 60s, I want to say psychedelic, but not exactly psychedelic, you know, like an album by, like, The Leaves or someone like that, you know? The Trogs or something like that. That's what that guitar sound makes me think of. And the singer has a really sort of thin and kind of nasal voice, which kind of reinforces that. It's definitely hard rock. Not really very metallic as far as like pure metal goes, right? But you know, it's rock that's, you know, heavy and intense, but and the songwriting is a little bit more sort of sophisticated than that. I mean, it's not like they're doing a Hey Joe on here, you know? But yeah, it's funny. It's a weird record. Yeah, and I like it. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's interesting, you know. Apocalypsis by Ramses. Did at least one other record too, which I don't know. Maybe I'll try and find one of these days. But I don't know. This is one that the cover kind of jumped out at me, right? All right. So anyway, I'm thirsty. So let's see how this fucking Dr. Pepper is. Again, brand new one to me here. It's definitely pretty strong on the coconut. Like, just sort of smelling it, like the bouquet, is very, very much coconut. It's strong on the coconut. It's definitely kind of an artificial coconut flavor. But it's pretty okay. I can almost, I mean, the Dr. Pepper actually kind of fades into the background. Like the aftertaste or two is really, like pure sort of artificial coconut, you know? Yeah, I heard this described as, you know, basically tasting like, you know, suntan lotion. I think it's a bit uncharitable. I can sort of see where it's coming from. I think it wanders pretty close to that line. I think if you amped up the coconut much more in this thing, that you get to that sort of suntan lotion place with it. It would kind of be gross. But as it is, well, I'm glad I didn't buy a 12-pack of this. I mean, because if I bought a 12-pack, I would drink them all, right? I mean, not like at a sitting, but I would feel obliged to drink them all. And I'm probably satisfied having just had one of these. But, you know, it's not terrible. I mean, it is a limited edition. I mean, it says so right there. And if it's a limited edition, I just can't fucking resist. Yeah. Yeah, so here's another one that I just sort of discovered recently. I kind of wanted to hype this one a little bit because this record looks kind of corny. It looks super private. It's this band called Sugar. I mean, look at that. That's like what I sort of look for when it comes to these sort of, you know, obscure private press records. Check out that old price tag, by the way. But I mean, they are called Sugar. You know, it doesn't look like the heaviest thing ever. So you might overlook it if you saw it at the shop. And I got this one locally for like $15. So this is not like, you know, one of the big sort of mega rarities that I've been able to show on this channel from time to time. Yeah, Sugar isn't the greatest thing ever either. But it's a pretty satisfying hard rock record. So I want to go ahead and showcase it just a little bit because it does seem like one you might come across. I mean, look at that label. Yeah, we'll just sample through this couple minutes. Again, it's not the heaviest thing ever, you know what I mean? If you're expecting full-on metal, if you're expecting full-on metal when the record looks like this, you probably need to like adjust your expectations a little bit anyway. Like, there's a little piano and shit in there, too, right? And the writing is kind of 70s. You know? But it's not a bad hard rock record, you know? It's heavier than it looks. You know, it definitely sounds like a hard rock record as opposed to sort of, you know, wimpy, like, I don't know, ballads or glam or some shit like that. And, you know, if you can get past the name and sort of forgive them for that, you can do a lot worse than these guys. Here's another one I pulled out not too long ago. Speaking of records that look really glammy, yeah, Matter of Taste by Rated X. I mean, how corny does that look, right? Yeah, I pulled this out because someone was talking about there's actually one for sale on some like auction show that I was watching some stream. This is 87. Now the guys don't look as glam as the cover looks, right? But this record is really a pretty solid metal record. It's not really speed metal or anything like that, but it's chunky and heavy and, you know, has really solid riffs on it. So even though the cover looks kind of glam, don't be afraid of this one. And I mean, you can probably handle a little glam anyway. If you're into metal, you're not like totally like a thrash purist, let alone like a death metal purist or something like that. You can probably stomach a little bit of that. Actually, with this whole like YouTube thing, of like having a channel and all this shit, I've kind of been surprised by how much tolerance people have for glam. Because like back in the 80s, it was completely polarized. You know, either you were into the glam shit or you were into the heavy shit, you know, like the thrash and the speed stuff. I mean, I like the hard shit. And I would look down on bands like Motley Crue because it was like poser shit, you know? And I think there are a lot of good reasons to like, at least like the early Crue albums. You know, they really kind of lose me after Shot at the Devil. But, yeah, like the way people who are like really into the heavy shit will go back and be like, oh, I really like Dokken, shit like that. I'm like, damn, dude, Dokken was like way beyond the fucking pale back in the 80s, you know? I mean, I kind of like that shit too, so I'm not throwing any stones or anything here, but I sort of found my way there after a lot of years of listening to metal and like really just being into the heavy shit when I was a lot younger. And I can't speak for everyone's trajectory, obviously. But I have a hard time believing that a lot of people have channels where they show both kinds of metal, you know, the heavier stuff and the wimpier stuff. I have a hard time believing that many of those channels were really into both at the time. You know what I mean? Maybe to a certain degree. I mean, there are always a couple favorite bands that fell on the other side of that line. You know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, I don't remember where I was going with all that, except this record looks like a glam record. It's much heavier than it looks. Looks a lot more like what the band looks like. It's a rockin' record, and it's not very expensive either. Matter of Taste by Rated X. So yeah, this is a cool one to find because I've had this for, I don't know, a lot of years at this point, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. You know, I sort of remembered it. I mean, I sort of remembered the cover, and it's actually, like I said, a lot heavier than what it looks like. So. All right, so So here we go. Now this is more like what the cover looks like, right? If you have the stomach for it, you can handle shit that's a little bit wimpier. At least it isn't glammy, you know? This isn't like fucking Great White level shit. This is just like, I don't know. I mean, this isn't even really AOR either. It's, just kind of, it's kind of wimpy in sort of a generalized way, you know? But I don't care. I like this band. I'm going to say good things about them and continue to. I'm like mixing all my shit up here. I start losing track of all the bags and the inners all over the place here, so. Yeah, I've been dabbling in a couple other things this past week or so, too. Like, this record has gotten a lot of action out from me this past week. I really like this record a lot. I mean, I was into this when it came out in, like, '83. I remember being a little kid going to the record store, not seeing it on the shelf, and I asked for it, and they were like, oh, Herbie Hancock's over in the jazz section. I was like, jazz? That's not like a jazz record, you know? Because I just knew the fucking song from MTV, you know, Rocket. You know, if you're going into it purely for the jazz, this record might not scratch the itch, you know what I mean? Like, the songs are mostly originals, but like Future Shock is a Curtis Mayfield cover. And, you know, Curtis Mayfield wasn't a jazz man, you know, it's more like soul shit. So, and then a ton of electronics on this, obviously. But this thing just finds its own groove, man. Like, it's not really jazz, but it's not really like dance music, let alone like new wave or something like that. It's not really, you know, R&B. It's just sort of its own thing, you know, and I really appreciate it for that. You know? And I wouldn't even go as far as to say there aren't any other records that sound like this. Because there are, but this is a really good one, and it's sort of this, it fits into a very small niche, and I would have a hard time even, like, trying to list other records that kind of sound similar to this. As far as ones that are sort of have a similar idea, the other ones I'd point to would probably be Herbie Hancock records, so. There you go. Anyway, Future Shock by Herbie Hancock. Great record. It's not very expensive either, you know? Here's another cool one. I talk about Swedish magic a lot. This one isn't as magical as like Gotham City or like that first Europe record. But Hexagon is pretty fucking good, man. The singer kind of has that dark, sort of serious, like Swedish singing style. And, you know, they put that on the back of their cover in lieu of a photo. So, you know, what's not to like, man? It's only 5 songs, so it won't wear out its welcome. Yeah, it's a fun record, man. Plays at 45. They did, and they were nice enough to deliver it with a printed inner sleeve. So. Here, this is another good metal one, and like a really solid metal one. This one's actually on a label too, in contrast to most of the shit I show. This is on Dream Records here. I'll actually fired this one up for a minute too. That's sort of a semi-joke about the label, because Dream isn't exactly a household name as a label, I don't think. There's a French label from the 80s, though, that put out mostly French bands, but not entirely. Like that, the really big one on that label that comes to mind is The Future Is Now by ESP, which is a fantastic record. I'm pretty sure the band was American. I'm pretty sure they're from Connecticut, actually. These guys were French, though. Excess. And I actually rolled the dice on this one because I read about it on the Colosseum, so it always comes back to that, you know? Well, not always. There's other shit that I find on my own, too, but yeah, this is really an unapologetically metal record, and it has some weird sort of quirks about it that make it special, like, the way it's recorded, especially with the way the vocals are in the mix, it almost reminds me of like the later Pentagram records. Like, if you listen to like Review Your Choices, the way Bobby's voice is sort of like, it's not buried in the mix, it still cuts through, but it kind of feels like it's far back. It's really sort of impersonal in a way, you know, but the way that's sort of stylized and cool, you know. This kind of has that going on. There's some keys on this record, but it's definitely not overwhelming. And they don't sing in French, I don't think. The titles are all in English, and I never paid attention to the words, so I actually can't say 100%, because it's not unheard of to have the song titles in English and then have them be sung in another language, but yeah, okay, he's singing in English. I don't pay a lot of attention to lyrics. I don't make a lot of bones about that. But if I just been mistaken about what language the guy sings in, I would have been a little bit embarrassed. I'll be honest. Something about how the vocals sound a little bit distant. But it's a solid riff. It's dark. It's not like doomy, right? But there's sort of a darkness to it, you know, and sort of a I don't know, it almost sounds like metal you'd listen to at the monastery or something like that, you know what I mean? Except I almost feel like that'd be more like Doom if we were going to go there with it. There's just something sort of like restrained about it, something that's that holds a little bit back, you know, in a way that I just think is really cool on this record. There's something about it that feels really disciplined. Like in the way that Merciful Fate sounds really disciplined, even though I wouldn't say they sound anything like Merciful Fate, really. Anyway. Yeah, these guys had one more record that I've never come across, and it's kind of an expensive one, so we'll see if I ever actually search that one out. But this first one is fantastic. Look at that cover, man. Excess, melting point. It's good shit, man. It's funny, sometimes I flail a little bit when I'm looking for shit to listen to. I can kind of see where I was doing that here, just going through some of the stuff that's sitting around. Like this fucking Pat Travers record is sitting here. And this one really didn't make very much of an impression on me. I don't know, maybe next time I'll come back and talk about it at length, but this record I really like. And it's funny because I feel like this is one of those records that like guitar weenies kind of geek out over. But I just think the songs are good on this, man. I like the playing. I think the whole thing sort of hangs together well, and it just kind of makes me feel good to listen to this record, Bridge of Sighs by Robin Trower. So, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of, I guess, band concept, you might say, you know, like sort of centered around a single figure in that kind of a way, you know, specifically around a guitar player in that kind of a way, you know. If I see, like, you know, Yngwie Malmsteen on a record cover, I'm kind of going to keep my distance, you know, or Joe Satriani, but I don't know. Robin Trower I can just handle. Robin Trower kind of does it for me, so what the hell. Maybe I'm coming around on this shit generally, like after the Edgar Winter kick from a couple weeks ago, so there we go. Played this one. You know, I just love this fucking record. ZZ Top is one of those bands that I just like a little bit more every time I listen to them, you know? And these days I really reach for this one and the second one more than any other. Like, Tres Hombres is a great record. But, like, I've heard, you know, the main songs in that one, like, you know, Waiting for the Bus and Jesus Just Left Chicago and LaGrange. You know, I've heard that stuff so many times that, you know, it's sort of like pulling out Machine Head by Deep Purple. You know, it's like half the album you kind of have memorized, you know? Whereas I kind of feel like I can dig a little bit deeper with these first couple, you know? So, yeah, that's the first one. Then I pulled this one out. Another banger. Fucking Montrose, man. Yeah, this was $1 really well spent. First Montrose. Same deal, actually, with the guy, but it's sort of centering around the guitar player. You know, a lot of times these kinds of records are crap, but this Montrose record is fantastic, man. All the songs are great on this. Sammy Hagar sounds fucking fantastic, man. And, yeah, super corny cover. What are you gonna do, man? It was the 70s. Boomers did all sorts of weird shit. Yeah, here's that second ZZ Top record. I don't think I even played this one. I just pulled it out to listen to, but yeah, I love this one too. I mean, that band photos kind of represents them so well too, you know? Anyway, don't snooze on early ZZ Top, man. I mean, and there isn't a lot of ZZ Top that I hate, you know? I think the 80s were pretty bad for ZZ Top as far as them maintaining their focus when they got into all the synths and all that kind of shit. But Eliminator is not a bad album. El Loco is a pretty bad album. That one's kind of boring. Deguelo is a good album, though. Yeah, this one's sitting here. I think I actually played Razmanaz more than I played this one this past week. But it's funny because this is the one I always reach for. So, but yeah, I love this record, man. Fucking Nazareth, I can totally hang with. And the Ballad of Hollis Brown. If you're gonna listen to one fucking Nazareth song, listen to their cover of the Ballad of Hollis Brown by Bob Dylan, because that is dirgy. That's darker than this shit. What we're listening to right now. And it's just so like intense, you know. It's one of the best cover songs I've ever heard. I mean, it's really, that's what you want a band to do with a cover. You want them to really make it their own if they're going to do it at all, right? And that is really their own, but it doesn't sound like Go Down Fighting or you know, Hair of the Dog or like the big Nazareth songs. You know, it really sounds fucking dark. Yeah, and I pulled this out too to give it a chance. I think this one kind of has the same sort of like 80s UFO malaise as like No Place to Run and The Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent does. It's not bad. It's okay. It's just after those 70s records that were just so fantastic, it's kind of hard to get excited about some of these in the same kind of way, you know? So I don't know, maybe I'll find my way on those too. I have all this shit sitting here. I'm thinking I should probably play that, I forgot what it was. Yeah, I was thinking there's one here I wanted to give another chance to before I filed it away, but now I don't even remember what it was, so. Oh well, such is life. Alright, so you know how songs like lift shit from each other all the time? I love finding shit like that. And I actually came across one just last week, and I've known both these songs for like decades, so it's funny to like just put my finger on this now. But like, I just realized a few days ago that Twilight Zone by Iron Maiden is basically the same song as Praying Mantis by Praying Mantis. So I kind of deliberately waited towards the end to see if maybe we don't get an ad put on this video. Because given that these are on real labels, I suspect that we'll see one. But yeah, I'm just gonna fire these up side by side and check this shit out, man. I live for this sort of thing. Ugh. Alright, so this is Twilight Zone. There's my copy of this. God, I bought this when I was in high school. I got it at Chris's Warped Records for $2. I got the main riff, right? Alright, the chorus is completely different, so I'm not even going to stick around for that. But check that out. I'm going to play that next to Praying Mantis. I'll just check this shit out. Okay, here's a Praying Mantis single. As we're firing up, that's a really cool custom label too, isn't it? This one has a little more swagger, a little more sort of, it's a little slowed down a little bit. But I think this song's actually earlier too. And one of the guys from, there was some overlap in the membership. I think Doug Sampson was in Praying Mantis and then went to Iron Maiden, but it might have been the other way around. He was on the first Iron Maiden record there too. So there may well have been some cross-pollination there. Yeah, I was going to say Adrian Smith is on the photo on the back, but that still doesn't necessarily mean that Adrian Smith played on the album, right? Yeah, so there we go, man. You see the chorus is different there. Or the pre-chorus in there. So we can cut that. But yeah, fucking Praying Mantis and Twilight Zone are the same song. Or the same main riff. I mean, in a way, what's really cool about that is that both the songs really have their own distinct identities, you know? If you want to get one where it's really pretty much the same, you can look at, you know, the Ides of March, and which is the same as Hammerhead on that Samson record, Head On. And, I mean, again, those two aren't completely identical, but those aren't as distinct from each other as I think Twilight Zone and Praying Mantis are, so. Alright, what else do we have here? Here, let's hype this one last one here, if I can fucking find it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this is another one that's fit pretty well with the wimpy ones. Oh, shit, I just dropped a bunch of fucking records. Oh, well. They're pretty much indestructible, man. Not quite, but it's not the end of the world. We're going to play a couple minutes of Wizard here. Just as we close this out. This is another one that's not really that heavy. But I've been enjoying records like this. Actually, this one has an intro, so I'm going to start it on the side too. With To Walk the Night. You know, I hear that in title. And to me, that's forever going to be the song off November Coming Fire. Yeah, this is going to be the last one I'll show too, just to sort of demonstrate that, you know, it's not all just obscure shit around here. Not those 70s ones were, but I pulled this one out too, man. Diamond Head, the White Album. My particular decorations from a previous owner. I almost said the previous owner, but I don't know if there was only one. For all I know, there was more than one. But yeah, still one of the greatest records ever, man. Just heavy and rocking, and every single song is great on this. Yeah, just 7 songs, perfection. That's a pretty cool guitar solo, isn't it? Feels kind of like anguished, you know? Yeah, 3-piece band too. And they shout out L. Ron Hubbard too, so you know they're only doing good things with their time and money, right? Awesome. Alright, well as always, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see what I come up with next time. Actually, next time I'm probably going to jump on board with that thread that Merciful Metal's doing with the pulling out albums where the title track is the best song on the record. But I didn't do that tonight because that would have involved like preparation. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.